Hey guys, what's going on? We're on episode 3 of the podcast for Outside the Fox. I said, well, welcome to the Fox, but forgot what I was on. But back joined again with best friend, co-host Xhavier. Join us once again. Yep. Let's go. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about news, just a few minutes, but mainly talking about like the store. How do you get the store? Well, what's the origin story? And kind of more or less, we get this question a lot. This is my dream. I want to do a store. Like, how do you get there? I started in 2014, so we're going to kind of navigate this in a 2025 environment, which will be different, fairly difficult.
Much different, yeah.
Much different. But from the experience of how I run it today, I mean, there is something to glean from that and kind of share, that wisdom.
Indeed.
So, and that's basically what I'm going to do. So we're going to start it off a little bit with news. Both of us actually went and got our Switch 2's pre-orders secured. Thank God. I was about to say, dying to get that. Homie here stood in line with GameStop for how many hours?
It was like 10-ish hours.
Yeah, I was about to say, not as bad as your Series X, I think.
Series X was 21 hours and the PS5 was 19.
That's dedication.
Yeah, it was. I needed it. I got to have it.
I remember coming to visit this one. I was like, listen, man, I'm sorry.
Even Tyler, our manager, was like, "Oh, I'll stop by. Let me know when you're there." And never showed up. Tyler.
He left the waters in the fridge. So I've been sipping on those all week.
Oh, yeah.
I've been like, yay. So that's been
Heck yeah.
But overall, yeah, it was pretty cool. Got one. The online was a disaster for everybody. I managed to get Target, but I had all 4 tabs of like Target, Best Buy, Walmart, GameStop, credit card on deck. I'm like sitting there like just cautiously navigating between each retailer, like, oh my God, let's secure this. And checking Twitter, it was like X or whatever you want to call it these days, but It was like a freaking bomb went off. Everyone was talking about like disasters and the cancellations so far have been good and blessed. You obviously did in person, so you're secured.
But it's funny, I tried doing Best Buy and they didn't kick theirs off. It was supposed to be like at midnight, and then theirs didn't happen till like 12:30ish almost, or it was much after midnight. And then it's like, hey, you're in a queue, and then you wait in queue, and it was fine. But then out of nowhere, it was like, all right, we need to verify your account and type out your address in full. And I'm just like, well, it's not going to happen. Never mind.
Dude, it was
people
rough.
got lucky with Walmart though. Apparently, people were just like, hey, I got it.
That was my roughest one. I literally was there, clicked it, 12 o'clock on the dot, and it was just like, you're in line, and it never went off that message. The games was another interesting situation for me. Because I noticed getting the accessory, I think GameStop on this one was kind of the clear winner as far as what you could get, accessories, games, because they have this wild accessory you can put the right Joy-Con into and create a mouse. Which even I was like later down the road. There's so many little piddly accessories, and you don't even know if you're going to use it a lot. Metroid Prime 4, you might end up liking it. You might be like, eh.
I'll give it a shot, but I don't think that's my priority or anything. I want that. I forget who makes it. Hickory, the Piranha Plant camera.
Yes,
it's 480p. It's 2025.
That's rough.
What are we doing? It's cool, but man, I wish you could I wish Nintendo had just a small little camera and you can just slide it in there. That'd be perfect. But
I was about to say I've never really liked the Hickory. There's tons of PowerA and Hickory controllers. I'm not a fan. I do like the designs. I wish Nintendo would do some more of those designs. But the quality compared to Nintendo's has always been kind of...
I like the fat, hoary Switch 1, Joy-Cons. They don't have any rumble or any features or anything, but it fits a lot better in my hands.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, because it's the normal Switch, I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm excited that they extended it, and then the SL or SR buttons, that same problem. So I'm hoping in a month and a half, we can talk about this thing and be first reaction of hey, out of the box, the last thing I'll note is it seems like the $500 bundle was the more common bundle.
Yeah.
Tried to go for the $450 myself, could not get it for life of me, and I obviously had the panic of getting one at all. I had to slide through the $500.
Yeah.
Secured that one easily, unfortunately. Yeah. And I wanted the physical Mario Kart World, not happening. So.
Yeah, I wanted the physical as well. But I was very surprised. You show up at GameStop and they had a list, and it was hey, we have 25 Mario Kart bundles and only 10 of the regular bundles, and I was like, that's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's they had more of the packaging because they were prepared for that or something. But what games did you pre-order?
See, I just got Mario Kart World at first because I'm excited for Bonanza. And I've played and or owned a lot of the Switch upgrades. Now, Breath of the Wild, actually, never beat that one. Never got to beat
okay.
Tears of the Kingdom, so I might pick up the upgrades on that one, like the upgraded Switch 2 carts and all. Kind of disappointed. I wish it was a little bit more. The game key carts, it's kind of was ones where I'm not sure. Bravely Default, they got me. I'm on that one because I've been waiting, and it's a 3DS game, and I was like about to buy. I just haven't bought it yet, so I was like,
Hyper popular, yeah.
And I'll just probably buy it because sometimes there's stuff that I want on the shelf. Sometimes there's stuff I just want to play, but I want to play on a particular console. So,
Yeah,
like I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. Sorry, all the crazy names for PS5.
Yeah.
And if they do it on Switch too, and then if they do it physical, I might double dip. Sometimes it's just fun to have something like that on the go. Handheld, it looks really good.
Yeah,
that's one of the things. Like I'm really happy with the specs and like just how like it's holding up. Like the biggest thing, I think the only negative I've been seeing recently that I definitely agree is the key card cartridge situation.
The only thing that's okay in my book, I guess, sort of, it's not just a code like a slip of paper inside the case. Switch One, like Fortnite does a lot of that, where it's like, oh, here's a Transformers bundle, and it's just a code with a car.
It's a waste.
The fact that you can just reuse it, like that's fine. You know what I mean? But it still is disappointing that the data isn't on there, especially if you have the room now.
Sometimes the nosy part of me wishes I knew the back end business end of that. Like how cheap are you being, or is it really that expensive? And you have a justified reason. Like I can understand, but I'd love to be the fly on the wall for licensing deals and see how some of these deals are constructed or not constructed. Is it greed? Is it actually that expensive? And everyone's just like, hey, I'm sorry, guys. We can't.
Because you got to think it's not just like a memory card. Because in my head, that's what it is. It's just like, oh, here's a bunch of pins, and inside just a micro SD, or something like that. This is probably just super cheap on there. Because the Switch 1 cards were very expensive for developers. So, maybe that's just their reasoning is like, oh, it's going to be cheaper. Don't worry about it. We'll save money. Like,
yeah, that makes you kind of wonder a little bit about it. So
I don't know.
Bravely Default might be a day one pickup for me, other than like I have unfortunately the digital Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
And I was just going to comment. I think the reason that they did more of the $4.99 is it comes down to the packaging. All they got to do is print a little, print a code.
Yeah.
And you can slap $50. Like, yeah, sure, they're missing out on that $30 for the cart. But at the same time, they print out a piece of paper, and they're the developers of the game. So, I mean, like, included as kind of a semi-pack-in, but for $50 more, they're making more money overall. I think we sell more copies of that game anyways.
Yeah, and it's probably subsidized through some weird tax loophole or something in Japan, or, including maybe, like, with the whole tariff situation across the board. I don't know. Yeah. So I have no idea. Bonanza, though. Ooh.
Yeah, still waiting, still excited. I'm so happy the internet decided not to hate on them. Like I actually been seeing like quite the opposite love, like lots and lots of love for the expressiveness and
that first outing with the Mario Kart because he was just like in the back and people were like zooming in and he was just like, and it was just like that looks dumb. Even I was like that looks stupid. What are they doing? But like in Bonanza, he looks great, fantastic.
I am pumped. I'm ready. Ready for the merch, ready for all the new stuff to come out, the matches, looks. I'm ready.
I'm still jealous of that shirt. I went to box lunch. I didn't see it. I was like, no. I was going to copy you.
I got lucky, man. I got really lucky with that one. So.
Oh, is that what happened? You got lucky? The universe didn't look out for you.
my die is always on like set like 777.
It's always, dude.
Snake, I don't know. Like I'm always just getting like whatever the best rolls are. Like on some stuff. Some stuff, no.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, like it just depends. I think the universe every once in a while levels me, and then it goes right back to give me some goodies. So,
well, that's good. Now, how about we just jump forward into it? Let's get right into it. Red Fox Gaming.
Yes.
How did that come about? How did that start?
Well, so we started in August 2014. I had just gotten back from a study abroad trip in Brazil, and Andrew, old business partner of mine, ex-business partner, had asked if wanted to start a business. It wasn't even like video game business, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I was still in college, finished that semester, and we were just doing something. At the time, it was just really I wanted to start my own business in general, but I didn't know what. Well, I did kind of have an idea, and obviously this is where I'm at now, doing this today. But I remember we just kind of started. First thing in the morning, like two others joined us, my brother and then Will at the time. We were all in the car together, and we hit upon this yard sale. First thing, 8 a.m. Guy was a former eBay guy going into YouTube full time, and for $150, he sold us 250 games, 28 different consoles, 21 controllers. I still remember those numbers exactly because it was crazy. It was just like an absolute. And at the time, we didn't know it. We were just. I think it was just a bunch of guys who were just going to like a very, very part time. Buy, sell, and Andrew had been doing that for a long time, like or at least a little while.
Yeah.
Of like he'd buy like a tie for a quarter, and at like Goodwill, and it was like a Brooks and Dunn, I think's the brand, or like
Oh, yeah.
Brook Brothers, I don't know, nice, good stuff, and he had an eye for that kind of thing, very cheaply, and he'd be able to flip it. And so I was just like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, we'll just do. And this is because I'm going into my career out of college, but then like we started getting into this. And we started doing, and Andrew and I particularly kind of just fell in love with it. We started doing research, and we started looking up stuff. We started doing like deals, meeting people, like Facebook Marketplace kind of style.
Yeah.
Like Craigslist was at this time also still relevant.
Yeah, that's how I found out about Red Fox.
Yeah, Craigslist was still relevant, very much so. Maybe it shows our age, like going forward, like. It's going to be like, at least we're not dropping AOL or Yahoo or something.
Oh, man.
My original address is still my email is Yahoo, so that kind of definitely kind of ages you a little bit. It shows you. But so we started doing that, and we just kind of, like I said, fell in love with it. And we started working out of his shed, and we did that for like a year. But like flea markets, we did the flea market game for like a year. Basically, I remember working from like 6 a.m. like on Saturday to like 12 o'clock at night, and then waking back up at 6 a.m. on Sunday. And we'd like work out, and mainly I remember the winter being like absolutely like, I remember being so cold it felt like it took all the way till that night to warm up, and then I had to literally go right back out in the morning and do it again.
God.
It's like 20, 30. Andrew would have steam coming off of his head. He'd like take off his hood, and steam would be literally like, he'd be like burning up. I'm like at 25 degrees outside all day, and I'm like, bro, how?
Share.
Yeah. Summer was brutal. Summer was like the opposite, like 92.
Man.
It was a hard year. It really was. And I told people, I don't know if I would do it exactly the way I did it going back. But I will say it was good we took that year to learn consoles. We took apart consoles. We studied price charting. We studied like most expensive to least expensive. Like if we walked into a pawn shop or anywhere, pulling your phone out is a great, and you see it now, I feel like people don't really have that kind of like same mentality. Like a lot of people see the resellers and they're like, oh, it's a reseller. But I feel like there's a way of just knowing, like let's say it's feeding time at the zoo at Goodwill, right? I don't really do that. I have done that in, years and years.
Yeah.
But you go there and like, do you want to be the guy grabbing the turd, or are you going to be the guy grabbing the gold?
Yep.
And if you don't know what to grab, you're going to be grabbing whatever because you just don't have that like memorized.
Yeah.
And like there's formulas for everything. Like obviously like sports titles, the last sports title on any console usually is worth the most money because it's like it's the one that's doing it. I mean, we found places like there's a store I know that hates sports titles. They'd only do them for like $2.
Yep.
And I mean, like, and then they'd be like worth 30 or 40. And you need those kind of wins, not like necessarily like you benefit that day, but like we started with $150 and to watch, I'm just going to say overall millions now that we've made, it's incredible to see that. But that took, an incredible amount of work. It wasn't like.
A lot of hard work.
It's a lot. And it's still to this day, it's flipping. It's money comes in, money goes out. Money comes in, and it's very easy it's hard. This is the hardest part, I think, of business is knowing how much to pay yourself, how much can I fairly take out, and how much do I need to put back in. And I think the equation always has to be balanced more towards the store, which people don't like that. I mean, I get it because why do you start a business? But like at the same time, you got to pay yourself too, because I've seen some stores where they don't. And I've had buddies where I've talked to them and I said, hey, you need to pay yourself. You need to be off a little bit. You need to balance that too.
Yeah, like give yourself credit almost. Now, it's like, I think people really misunderstand the store side of things because if something's worth $100 and we give you 60 or 65 in store credit for it, and you go, and then the next day you come in, you see it for 100, you're like, oh, I got ripped off. And it's like, well, no, you got an instant rebate or instant cash on your end. It's instant. There's no fees. There's no shipping. There's nothing involved. There's no hassle. Here you go. And you got something out of it. It isn't just for us like, we're making money. Like there's so much on the back end that people don't realize. And then also, how long is that item going to sit
Holding
for us?
the inventory kind of is a big thing.
Because if you sell us something and it's cool, but it's rare, but it's super niche, that's going to sit 2 years for us. That eats up a spot. There's something else can go there and we could possibly make money out. So all of it is a gamble, including on our end as well.
Well, it's like we got the Prismatic Evolutions ETBs today. We got 30 in. They're all gone. They're sold today. You can put your money in something like that. It's a day one sale. It's like it's making you money right away. It's helping you grow the store. It's helping you grow, pay your employees, do everything you need to do. Or you can put it sometimes like, and I love Game Boy, but like let's say like we're Sega. And I love Sega too, but like Sega, anything minus Dreamcast, I'd say is a hardest sell. It's 1% of our total sales for the year. And that's all. That is, by the way, all Sega. That is Sega Genesis, Dreamcast, Master System, Pico. I'm trying.
Game Gear,
Nomad. That's Saturn. That's freaking like That's all game like Sega get 1% total.
Yeah.
Whereas I think like one time I did the math and like PS1 through 5 is like 25%.
Yep.
But I mean like that for example, that's 5 consoles versus like just as many for Sega or not. So
that's
demand
rough.
for Sega, and so like when we buy Sega, it sits, and there are some good ones. Yeah, sure. You get like your Gunstar Heroes, or you get like Streets of Rage 2 or something. Like that's different. That's a different Crusaders Ascenti. That's a collector's item. That's an item. That's always the other part of this business people understand is like connections. And like this question is one of the reasons we're doing this today, and I was kind of like going for this was that basically I haven't gotten it recently, but I remember especially in those first several years, I guess when they saw this and they could see it looked more attainable or whatnot. People ask me all the time, like, this is my dream. How did you do it? What do you do? And this is my way of saying, hey, on video, this is some of the ideas, some of the things we did, some of the things you can cover it. And I'd say like research is a big one. Doing that year of research, really, we started cards really last year in May, but I started all at the beginning of last year doing the same thing.
Yep.
Back to the drawing board, looking at sets, looking at demand, looking at the accessories, looking at providers, looking at okay, when we get them in, and what's the best ways of selling these cards? What's the best way of listing them? What's the best way of displaying them? Doing all of the necessary research. So much more goes into it than I want card transaction here to give you cash. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Presentation's a big thing, and like I'd say in an age where there's so many sellers, there's so many resellers, there's so many stores, like I definitely say some of the things you can do to distinguish yourselves, great customer service, friendliness. That's something we've always, greet every customer that comes in, tell everyone goodbye. Just maybe just ask a quick little check-in. Hey, are you here to browse around, or are you just looking for something in particular?
Yeah.
If they're not looking for something in particular, let them browse. Every maybe 2 to 5 minutes, you could say. Whatever the vibe feels, you can just be like, hey, you still doing all right? Yeah, good. All right, cool. Yeah. Just little check-ins. You don't want to be too much. Sometimes I have that problem. I'm like almost like, but I think that's probably the owner thing, kind of like where I'm like, hey, are you okay? You okay? Is everything all right?
You want to make sure everybody's comfortable, because I think customers really are, that's your everything, because without a customer, you don't have anything.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Paying attention to your customers, your customer base, their needs, wants, and everything, what their demand is, I think that is highly important. You know what I mean? I think the store's done an incredible job at that. But that doesn't come overnight. That's not just something like, oh, is that what it takes? Okay, cool. It takes a lot of practice. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say the other thing is trends, like just keeping up with trends. That's a big one. Like Pokemon this year is trending, and that's one where you can always go to the wrong areas, but like you need to like pay attention to those areas,
Yeah.
Like that's where like you don't want to be a trend chaser all the time, because like, there are things you should do, and that's just like ever throughout. Like let's say you're doing Magic and you don't do Magic, and then like a Final Fantasy set comes, right? And like if you don't have the allocations, then you got to grow to get the allocate. You know what I mean? Because that's the problem with like cards. Like when you go to distributors, they're not just going to give you Destined Rivals. They're not just going to hand you like, hey, here's money. Because there's guys who've been in line and be like, hey, I've bought every set, bad or good.
Yeah,
they've been consistent. So I mean, again, that's where like Pokemon's a great trend, but you got to stay consistent throughout. Other thing is like tenacity. Like I call our guys every week. I'm on the phone all the time these weeks. I've moved my schedule around where I don't even work as much weekends, just so I can be a Monday through Friday kind of grind. Be like, hey, you got anything? No? Okay. Hey, you got something? Okay, what do we got to do to get it? And like last week we just spent several thousand on bundles of sleeves and all kinds of stuff just to get this prismatic that we got in today and these other items. And that's just something you've got to do occasionally. Like, you've got to, there's trend chasing, but there's also like just making sure you stay consistent, like, and just figure out new creative ways.
Yeah, networking and then keeping yourself in the back of other people's minds, especially the people you need to talk to and who have the goods to put you on the same level as everybody else.
Absolutely. And like sometimes like I feel like some stores get hungry for the money, and it's like you need to do stuff that serves the customer too.
Yeah.
Of course you're here to make money because you need to make money because you got bills to pay. You got employees to pay. Maybe you have wife or kids. Maybe you got a husband, whoever. you've got somebody at home, you got to take care of. But at the same time, you got to take care of your customers too, because they're the ones at the end of the day. Like if you don't got them, you don't got nothing.
Yeah.
I tell the staff all the time. Like sometimes people get stressed. It's been a problem throughout. Hey, we got stuff to pack. Hey, I'm like, listen, it's really cool to have a clean back room, and I really enjoy it, but it doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah.
It's not going to earn you $1. What matters is keeping the front house clean.
Yep.
Keeping your customers happy and letting them come back. And then if you make enough money, then you got the time to pay someone extra to be like, hey, well, let's clean the back. Let's figure this out, and get this a little bit more like OSHA safe and happy.
Oh, you all right? No workman's comp.
Okay. Yeah. Workers?
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Yeah, customers are like that. I think that's my favorite part of the whole job is just like customers, kids who are very enthusiastic about something.
Love it.
Older people who may not know about certain things who ask you questions. I love answering those questions. Or people who are like, hey, do you have this? I'm like, yep, here you go. Oh, do you have this? Yep, here, I got you. Like, that's probably my favorite job.
I love the enthusiasm. And like again, some people would argue that like you shouldn't bring too much of your passion or your hobbies in, but it depends on how you separate. If you're able to go home and say, I'm going to separate these two out, and I'm going to kind of, I can do that. What is it, decompartmentalize? Maybe the word for it?
Yeah, compartmentalize.
It's opposite than compartmentalize.
Yeah.
So and just be like, hey, this is work, this is home. Yep. And I enjoy it just as much. I get like a kid on Christmas every time I get a shipment. It doesn't matter almost. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, like you just and I'm like, cards, video games, like
you see sealed stuff, you're like, yes.
Oh man, like some of my happiest moments, and this is one we were talking about doing. It was like Chicago. Like,
oh my! And like back
when we got to go to that, and I know you got to see the spoils. So Chicago. By the way, when we say Chicago, there was an amazing customer, Doug. So again, this is kind of going back to what you got to do to be good at this job, to do what you're going to do.
Yep.
So we had tournaments. We had rock band tournaments. One of our customers, Doug, had added me on Facebook, just making those connections. You never know when that stuff pays dividends. It pays off. And he was selling stuff at a yard sale, and the stuff I was seeing was like Rob the Robot, Virtual Boy in Box, like stuff where I was like, and I asked him, I was like, hey, why don't you bring it by the store? And he was like, oh, because he was doing like yard sale prices. And then he was like, oh, I'm in Chicago. And I was like, okay. So we just spur of the moment. You just started that week. It was your like first week helping out at the store.
That day that you guys pulled up the U-Haul was my first day.
What a rough first day too. Because
no, it was great. I don't care.
I just feel bad because it was like this 26-foot U-Haul filled of like sealed Sega Saturn games, sealed like everything, like collectibles and just everything. And it was just like I remember flipping the U-Haul because we kind of hyped this thing up coming back, and this one of our customers' lips quivered. Yeah, it was like literally, it was like I was like, it was like. Feeding, and I'm just gonna say it was like feeding time at the zoo. Like,
it was wild.
We pushed all the racks to the walls. I remember we just put out totes, and I drove. We drove. It was 3 days we went up there, and we worked all throughout them. Andrew and I did not sleep from 8 a.m. the day before we drove. I packed this whole thing out, loaded it, ate at a Denny's with the boys, and drove all throughout the night from Chicago back home. Worked the entire next day with no sleep. And then I was like, I begged Drew. I was like, I was like, could you please drive me home? Because I actually feel like I'll kill myself, like on the road. I'd probably end up wrecking because I begged Andrew for an hour's sleep. He let me like sleep at a gas station, like on the side. And I was like, I was doing the whole thing, like monster, slap yourself in the face, like screaming, like loud, whatever you could do. None of it. I honestly felt like I could probably fall asleep screaming. That was how sleepy I was.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. It was great.
Absolutely,
the energy.
Amazing. I felt really bad too because. Like, that's my first day. I don't know anything about, like, what exactly to do. We were still using the iPad at the time.
Horrible.
But, like, I still had to ask you, like, how much is this? What do I do here? And you were just like, and you were still just cranking people out the door. But that was an incredible experience. Unbelievable. Once in a lifetime, man.
I wish every year, like, not just the money, just the excitement, the energy. Because you and I, that's why I've always loved working with you. That's why you're on this podcast with me. Is because, like, that energy, that excitement, you have the same passions and enthusiasm. that I have. I mean, we love it, man. That's why Sundays is Club Red Fox for us because we play. A lot of times I've played, I need to get back to it, but playing dance music, having a good time, be like, hey, what's going on? Kids come in, Christmas, it's all about the energy and
Yeah.
excitement. It's not just about, hey, we got to be. I was like, no, it's cool.
Yeah.
But like the people, it's just fun. It's just cool to see
It
their
really
energy.
is, yeah.
You got people like Randy. It's like, you hype them up. Woo! God, I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember because it has been now years. But who was the guy?
David Good.
You remembered him?
Yep.
I said you said it. I was like, boom,
good.
it's good, man. And he actually, I remember like just, it's cool. I can remember a customer that had been like a regular for a long time, and I remember, and it's like you just grow. That's the whole point too, is the connections.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I remember this customer, I'll say, without doing too much, you know what I mean? I'm so proud of this guy. If you listen to this podcast, hey man, I hope you know who I'm talking about. Was I think in the larger side of weight. Lost a lot of weight, suicidal, ready to kill. Said that he got a 2 or 3 year old little girl's adopted into his family, little sister, decided to lose the weight, decided to become, just do his better, never gave up, kept going, literally has had his leg amputated. Like, I've seen this man go through so much, but I'm actually, as a friend, just proud to be his friend. Like,
Yep.
I can remember when he got his now wife, and him just kind of the confidence, the peacocking, the literally like, chest out, just so I was like, dude, I loved it. And that's the kind of stuff like you like to see, is just like there's been people like Dante or others that I'm like just seeing. I can't remember because it's been a long time since we exchanged names, but the guy always came in with Smash the cowboy hat.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
Yep.
love him. Great.
He was there
great.
Sunday actually, yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
man. It's just some people that we just it's great to see them, even if
Yeah.
it's 2 minutes, even if it's like 30.
Yeah.
It's just a great big part of it. But I
It's
think that
awesome,
helps.
Yeah, we love our customers, and we love seeing them like grow as
Yeah.
much as everybody else.
Absolutely.
It's amazing, and to see them like flourish and thrive is awesome.
I love that's and that's a big part of the job. I think is like being passionate, being excited, if you are not good at customers, this is not the kind of job for you.
Definitely not. If you don't have like impatience too, because you're going to get customers who even they're not trying to like be mean or besmirch your brand or whatever. They may just come off as not as friendly as others and all that, but they're not meaning to. You have to learn how to navigate that. Also, different customers who maybe have disabilities or may have learning disabilities or something like that. You still have to accommodate, and you have to try to go well out of your way to help them out, to make sure that not only you backing up your own brand, but that you're making a statement for your community as well.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that I've always and you've understood that, and you've honestly a big part of it is like community.
Yeah.
Like we're blessed to be a part of the community, and that's another thing is like when you open a local store, you are, and that's I think that's one of the only things missing from like people who are just online only. You don't really get to know your customers. If you do a brick and mortar, it's amazing. Yeah, and we have an online component, and I actually had an amazing that you can, but the conversations aren't as frequent. Like had a guy this weekend who ordered. The order ended up being something a little different than he was expecting in condition, so we ended up talking. Dude, amazing dude. It's got like the last post-pan. He showed me his collection on his shelves. Absolutely awesome. Talked for 20, 30 minutes on the phone the other day at home. Dude, great dude. Love him. It was awesome. You know what I mean? So the opportunities are there if you're willing to do it. But like big part of our success in the beginning especially was I always tell everybody, stay hungry. There's always somebody out there ready to eat your lunch.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like you're at the old cafeteria and like you got you're like, someone's like, you gonna eat that? You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
you eat that cornbread?
You gonna eat that? Like, I'm not saying, like, I'm just saying, you got, it's kind of goes back to the trend going. You gotta, there's an appetite. I think a lot of people, we've had a couple times where we've had like peaks where I was like, maybe you just keep the same formula going forever and you can be good.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that, though. That's not the nature of retail. Like, I wish sometimes, because it would be easy. It'd be great. Like, I've cracked the code. Like, we figured it out. I've figured out how to do this, and this is great, and this is working. People's interests change. People's moods change. I mean, there's
the market.
Again, not just, but like a modern relevant. Jesus, I'm having a moment. But like example of that is going back to Pokemon, 22, 21, on fire.
Yeah.
But then when Scarlet and Violet got introduced, it cooled off massively.
Yeah.
But like it's knowing when to turn that burner back on and keep going. You know what I mean? As a store, that you need to know that. You need to, know and not just
just adapt to.
You got to
the
adapt.
environment.
Yeah, you got to be willing to do it.
Speaking of adapting, how was it going from the flea market to a brick and mortar? Like, what were the challenges of doing that, or was it a lot easier?
So, like, it's kind of like going. It's like imagine you're an eBay seller, and then you're opening your own website. We're the same for flea market. You're giving a lot of people get hung up on the fees, but you're giving eBay those fees for a reason. They've brought millions of people to their marketplace.
Yeah,
people go to eBay to look, maybe even first, or only for certain items. So it's different because you're building your own base, and of course you don't pay that 10%. But what I've learned now is, an older, more wiser person is you usually should spend that 10%, maybe even 15% on advertising. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing I will say is we bootstrapped everything. We didn't take loans. I'll say, luckily, Andrew had saved some money, right? And, for the sign and whatnot, and, but the sign and the first month's rent was, $5,000-$6,000. I don't remember how we did that, how we ended up working that out, but we did at the time. But it was, $5,000 or $6,000, right? Yeah. I remember, in total, maybe it was, the amount of money. You know what, actually, I think, I can't really remember, so I'm a little fuzzy on these details. Yeah. It's been 10 years, so forgive me. But
yep.
I'll just say I kind of remember this is that, basically – those two things alone, a sign on the outside of the store and the first month's rent, and the money we have, we'd sold a lot of stuff that summer to get there August 5th when we opened. And I remember we had I'm not even joking, 9 of the 4-foot slat wall shelves. Yeah. We went to Winston-Salem for $21. It was maybe it was $7. It was $3 a piece. I remember that. So it was $7, I think, now I think about it. And I remember this guy from Asheville drove down an hour and a half, came in. He looked and he said, I drove down here for this. And I remember, we bootstrapped it all, man. And we had more stuff, but we had to sell stuff to get there.
Yeah.
I will say what worked for us was relationships.
Yeah.
Again, we had Brandon Allshouse, who literally had this amazing collection. And he was there was a store in Lincolnton that was going to pay him $6,000. We did $7,000.
Yeah.
And, it was a little bit more than we normally pay, but it was okay, but it was amazing stuff. It set us on that. And what we did, and we have done sometimes, is a bargain. Where it's hey, we're willing to pay you more than someone else is, but we're new. And I remember I gave the rent money for this deal. And I said, we'll do 3 months of payments. I wrote, an agreement out, and I put it in a little contract. And he was our first one. And we've done several of those where I was listen, we're good for this. And if we're not, take this. And we notarized and everything. I was take this agreement with all the items and everything, and take us to court. Yeah. And it's a pay by date. We do that to give the customer confidence and say, and we've done so many at a certain point that, we haven't had to do it in a long time, but just in case, I've had people, good things now is we have references, we have tons of people who've dealt with us.
Yeah.
It's not even really an issue. But in the beginning, getting crafty. We could have let that deal walk off, but instead I said, here's a creative way and here's our rent money.
Yeah.
And luckily, in the beginning, when you had this stuff, the initial surge of it is what paid back the rent money.
Yeah.
Because it was 3 or 4 days the rent needed to be due. So it kind of worked out where I was all right, it's a risk.
Yeah.
It's all. I remember another thing is if you're wanting to make a lot of money, sometimes this isn't the job for you.
Yeah,
I remember
definitely
the first month I thought, and I'm not even talking about crazy, it's about $300 or $400 a week. I was just hoping for $300 or $400 a week, not slave wages or nothing crazy. I got humbled very quickly when we all got paid $50 a week first month, and after that, I was guys, I got to get paid just a hair more.
Yeah,
150 for the next 3 months, and then 180 Andrew and me, 180 for the next year and a half.
Yep.
And until I bought him out, maybe what was it 3-ish years in, and I absorbed his pay, and then it was a little better. It's been a grind.
Yeah,
it's been I had spent about 10 years between college and going to college, getting out debt free, and the way I did that. Same for this, bootstrapping this. It's been a grind. Yeah. It's hard.
I remember when I first found Red Fox, I was just checking on Craigslist, just in the video game section. And I was oh, Red Fox Gaming, oh, Hickory. And at the time, I was, living in Morganton, and I was oh, Hickory's forever away. I'm not going to go there. And I had to come to Hickory one day, and I was oh, wait a minute. There's that store. And I found you guys. And I remember I walked in, and there was Andrew sitting there.
Yeah.
And there were 2 counters and 2, shelving units in the floor and some, slat, and that was it. And I'm this is great. I was so excited. And I remember I bought B-52 because I was into unlicensed games at the time. And then Andrew was so funny.
He is funny. He's
you know what I mean? I came back, and then I think it was the third time I came back, and that's when I met you.
Yeah.
And whatnot. It's come a long way. Long way.
I mean, the amount of literally in, out, in, out, in, out. People don't realize like anywhere from, I'm going to say like 50 to 100 items a day, but it could be like 50 to 150 traded.
Yeah.
And then like out, maybe about the same, maybe less, maybe more.
Yeah.
It just depends on the day. Like today, like a prismatic day, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's, because people are buying prismatics, people are buying stuff with the prismatic. It's a lot. So I say this again, it's a constant because like, I don't know, like I said, you got to always stay hungry. No matter how like full you are, you got to stay hungry. You got to stay willing. You got to stay like up with it. And like I've had like anybody on record for any job, I'm sure there's periods where people get like tired or like you've done something. You know, a minute, like what I like about my job is it's challenging for me.
Yeah,
because it's always evolving. It's always changing. It's always like we're doing the website. And I like to challenge myself. My ambition is huge. If you want to know the truth, I don't talk about it much, but I have big goals that I'd love to see happen. Not because of the money. It's not even about the money. It's actually just pull it off, just to see like, can you do it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, I have ideas of like, you know, like a nice all kinds of stuff, warehouse, like storage, just like beautiful. I love this point. I'm thinking about play space if we could. It's hard because of our current spot and like it's a hard market right now, and the market's not to get too much in that, but like that's another part of being a store owner is like predicting the future. Yeah, looking at like figuring out like navigating. I can remember 2020 March. See, I was on the forefront as just an example of this in the March when everyone was kind of freaking out about COVID. I didn't freak out about it, but I also knew I was like I need to prepare, I need to plan. If everyone decides they're just like, hey, we're not working, we can't. I was like, what am I going to do? Yeah. Kind of sucks to spend 5 or 6 years of your life at that point and then have nothing to show for it if you lose it all. Yeah. So I remember like I got everybody on unemployment. I moved everybody to that. I was like, stay home. They're going to pay you that extra. It was like $1,000 a week. Yep. I got the EID. I was one of the only people I knew. Got the EIDL. Got the PPP. But I was like EIDL was one of the only people because I literally like the day of the first 2 hours I was like on that website like filling it out. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like it's like with the tariffs, like I think you honestly in any situation you can never underprepared, but I definitely think it helps to at least be knowledgeable of like what the environment people are talking about. And this is one thing I have not seen customers talk about yet. I don't think they quite realize this. When I go to look for certain supplies, they're not there right now, and there's a reason. Yeah. Because like if you're one of the suppliers that you want to restock right now while everything's so much higher with the tariffs, or let's just say in a month, possibly they do backtrack and they say, hey, we worked out of trade deals or we've done this and that, and then you can just buy it back at status quo, maybe 10%, whatever, right? Yeah. Much more reasonable. Do you want to be that guy or do you want to be the guy that stocks now? Yeah. And obviously everyone's waiting, but what's going to happen is empty shelves. And then long read. Remember when the shipping container crisis happened? Yeah. I had statues. People were like, where's your statues? And I was like, and I couldn't get them. Yeah. Shipping container, that's another crisis I had to navigate, like long pre-order windows. Yeah. And that comes with its own thing because I told you how scary that is because like as a store, it then got to the point where everybody was pre-ordering. Mm-hmm. Everything we were getting was pre-orders. And so like my fear was, what if today's the day where 5 of them come calling and they all want their money today? Yep. Because a lot of times they say a date, but customers understand, like on statues, for example, we never even saw the trick or treat, the moon one, the one that I told you about. Oh, yeah,
Katie Moon, yeah.
Never saw it. Never saw it. Don't know what happened to it. Just evaporated. I think it even says still on the website we have 4 coming, but that's not coming. I guarantee it's already out in stores. But that's an example of like sometimes things get dropped or your suppliers don't know, or it's like it's just difficult.
And everybody's going to do like the big fear is everybody's going to do the call at the same time. Just like, hey, man, we took 35 pre-orders for this new game, and it got delayed by a year or 2 years. It's like, oh, I want my money back. You're like, huh! You know, like that has to be rough. What would you say has been like the biggest challenge as far as, you know, having a brick and mortar store and then with everything changing and trends going here and there and everything fluxing in and out, you know, was COVID kind of like the biggest challenge or the biggest fear or hurdle? Or
COVID was difficult at first. Yeah. To be completely honest, the first from like March-ish, April to I think it was like October, November. Yeah. And it kind of just changed. By the end, I was like, honestly, it actually became incredibly easy. Yeah. Because it was just too easy. Because I'd say like juice the economy. Everyone was like, money, spend stuff. And then I was like,
I'm stuck at home. Let me spend money. Yeah.
First 6 to 8 months. Oh, man. I mean, I'm talking about the amount of stress and like worry. And like, I'm like, oh, God, what are we going to do? Like, I was like, immense. People don't realize how much time I spend a lot at home. You know, that's a lot. I go home. Your job never ends when you're an owner.
Yeah.
It really never does. I have people. I'll be on my days off. I get called. Not to be weird, but I get calls from you guys. Get call from suppliers. Get call. A customer's will text. Call and that's where you have to compartmentalize a little bit, or have limits, or maybe tell some people hey, just message the store, not because you don't want to talk to them, not because, but you gotta have time for your family. You gotta have time for yourself. If you don't, not gonna have a family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
if you're constantly focused on the job, then you have no room for anything else.
And it is hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is very difficult because a lot of times there's random moments where I'll be just. The other day I was stressed. Tariffs just it's a lot to navigate.
Yeah, and supposedly those container ships are just stuck waiting right now. So that supply is gonna be rough here soon. Do you think that's going to affect the market? Do you think people are going to go back to maybe retro or collecting because they're not going to be able to get in new items and stuff like that? Because all the stuff is already here now.
That's my prediction too.
But a lot of it is in the collector's hands too. I don't know what's going to do for pricing.
If the money goes up high enough, it will leave. But who's paying those prices if the wages go down? So it's an interesting situation. I've already in my head played out that I could kind of almost see stimulus checks coming into play again. I'm not saying it should. I think it wrecked the economy a little bit with inflation and other problems. Was it amazing in 21, 22? Absolutely. It's fantastic. Do I think it did more long-term damage? Yeah. Look at the housing market. Look at all kinds of different markets. A lot of markets are wrecked right now, and it's just because we juiced it way too hard. We printed too much money. We did a lot of stuff. It's one of the things I remember saying at the time was we're not going to pay for this now, but we are going to pay for it all later. Yeah. It was just to keep the momentum going, the economy going, and I could almost see that kind of happening again. Yeah. Yeah, it does worry me. I would say these two moments are, and then other than that was opening a second store that we had opened. Oh, right, yeah. That was difficult. We opened a second location. We had the Chicago wind. Way too confident. Felt really good about it.
We were excited though. Those were setting up that second store was fun as
That was fun. That was absolutely. I love the idea of it. Yep. And that's where I came back to. So we tried doing the multi stores. Could I still do it today? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Got a question today. Literally, guy in the store today. When you opening your second location? I get that question all the time. Yeah. I've determined that the online store is my second location. Yeah. I can manage both from the store. Eventually, you either have a really awesome back room with extras, or you have an off store, where something like that. Yeah, you know what I mean, where customers can shop all that out. So, because the reason is I decided after that I like the idea of a destination store, one where it's a really impressive store. I would rather spread myself in with 2, 3, 4, 5 stores and have to drive between all of them, make sure supplies are there. It's already a job and a half just to get. Hey, brought it bags. Hey, brought rubber bands. And I do stock up extra stuff, but there's always something, hey, brought a pads for the buff machine. You know what I mean? Yeah, so 5, it'd be, you know what I mean? So, again, it's just, I'd rather create that one store that does super well, mega store, a mega destination store. You could create a bunch of stores in an area where I could be hey, our store is good enough, nice enough, awesome enough that someone from an hour and a half willing to drive here. Yeah. Versus they have a location that's okay, but I'd rather hey, funnel all of our attention into this one store. Make it look as nice. Make it customer service, really work everything.
And I think another thing that's important that people you don't really think about. I don't think customers realize unless you're getting incredible customer support is you have to have a really good team. And have it. And if you're spread across 5 locations, you can't keep an eye on every single person. Not that that's the entire goal of it, but if you have one location, you have time with all of the employees and everything to really teach them how to do things and how to get along, and they can draw from you examples of how to deal with customers or deal with a difficult and stressful situation. Yeah.
I like that. That's how I feel too about it. Is I don't know, I wouldn't say 2 stores make you corporate, but you just kind of lose a little bit of that heart and soul. Yeah. I've seen competitors do the multi-stores. I've actually had one scene where, and I'll do a shout out more or less than a bad Gamers Alley in Gastonia. Yeah. Talked to owner one time. He had 2, 3, 4 stores. Yeah. Told me that going back to the one. If you've been to this most recent, it's huge. It's massive, and that's worked out better for him to have that one mega store, which is, and that was just it. I've seen people do both, and the ones I can think of that I've seen, like they usually don't stock. Like they have to get things that are more wholesale like.
Yeah.
Like you get it from a factory or a supplier, like, like Plush or Manga or like stuff you can just like, I'm the owner, or you can make them set someone up like, hey, here's your limit, buy stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, that's great, but like trades are difficult. Trades are, they're resource heavy because like you get questions, like you get items like we got in, let's say Buster Bros is a really good example of that Game Boy. We got that one the other day, complete in box. That's a harder one because there's not eBay data. It's price charting only.
Yeah.
Because there's not any 9 days data. So you have to kind of like, hasn't been on the market a long time. And it's like my knowledge ability of doing this a long time. Like, what do I think someone will pay for it? What, you know what I mean? And just like educated guesses, but I've done, you know what I mean? Can you push the market? Is it the market here? Is it the last few sales pretty accurate? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think? Because obviously you want to treat the customer fair, but you also, it's a twofold equation. You don't want to pay in my opinion, you want to pay, it's good to be able to pay your customers very well or like pretty awesome because they come back in.
Yep.
And they say, hey, word of mouth. And they're like, this guy treated me right. And it's good so that way you have to sell it. But again, you want to do like a medium rate. We don't chase high. We don't chase low.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of honors both. Hey, I'm buying stuff from you. You're not like super high. You're not super low. Hey, you're paying me pretty good for this. I feel good about it.
Yeah. Being transparent, I think, also helps as well. Like, hey, here's what competitors or online's going for. Here's what I'm willing to pay you and things like that. And,
absolutely.
And sometimes there's room to work with people who are like, I was expecting to get like this much. Like, that's fine.
Absolutely.
There's different situations that you really like have to make that call and be sure that you're doing what's right for the business and what's right for the customer. And sometimes that can be really hard to balance.
Yeah. And like I was telling you in the previous episode, like you want to do that. You want to make sure you're like I don't know, like sometimes you have to dig your heels in and be like, because some people will push you and they're like, hey,
God, yeah.
We've had a couple I can think of that like more, and you're like, man, any more I'm buying it.
Yeah.
I'm the customer at that point. I'm not the store, and like that's something that people don't understand. Is like, listen, if I'm paying 100%, if I'm paying 90%, I'm a customer. You just made a sale off me. I'm not the end goal here.
Yeah, and I will give just some unfettered advice for people. If you're going to a retail store and you're like, hey, I'm going to sell my item to you. I have this beautiful Dreamcast, and I looked it up on eBay, and it says it's going. They're selling for $300. It's like, first of all, that's what somebody has it up for. You have to look at what's sold and average that out. Clean your item. Period. And don't be.
Does help, yeah.
Yeah, like you don't have to. Take sandpaper and repaint it. Just spit on it and just give it a little wipe, something. And also don't expect to get full price. I can't tell you how many times people are like, well, this is going for, I'll say it's going for 100 online. I want the 100. Like, no, this is a trade post at that point.
Yeah.
You can't expect full price to go into your pocket. There has to be some give there. I think people need to be a little more realistic when it comes to stuff like that. But you also have to educate and inform them like, hey, no, yes. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the more difficult parts too, especially with customers who can be a little difficult or pushy. Don't let people push you around.
Yeah.
But also learn when to like give. Yeah.
Stern, but firm and fair. Like I've had to do that quite a bit. Like that's another thing is like you get wild ones. I have to be like, hey, get out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've got to do it. And like sometimes you have to understand. And I hate like people think I'd like to be no, not really. Like in reality, real life, no.
That's the worst. Yeah.
But like if I got to do it, you got to do it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about like the buck. That's the thing about me is like the buck stops here.
Yeah.
I'm the line of defense.
Yeah.
If you're going to open the store and you're owner, you are the last line of defense.
Yep.
Crazy homeless guy comes in, something bad happens. Wild guys like like you're like, come.
Yeah.
It's whatever. I mean, you just sometimes it's just
you have to take the heat, and that goes for online too, because we have a Facebook page and people can leave reviews and comments on posts like that, and you also
views are important.
You have to step up if you're an owner to like do that kind of stuff and deal with people who are being unreasonable, I guess I could say.
I guess, like, let me spend this last part of the segment on, like, hard recommendations. Things I can really tell you, like, do this.
Yeah.
Some of the best advice I ever got was, like, so we actually, CVCC, if you are local, if you are listening to this and you're local, they have a free small business, like, courses that are free. They have a small business center. There are actually, I believe, several across the state. You might even have it in your state if you're out of the state. Check in. That's a free resource. I learned that. I'd never taken a business class in my life. That was another thing I did to start learning how to run the business, learning what I needed to do, and kind of like figuring that out. Look for resources that are local. Look for stuff like that. Don't be scared to, like, ask people questions and kind of, like, field that stuff. It does exist. Jeff Duval was my, like, mentor. He helped me so much. Like, one of the best things, that advice I got in one of his classes was guy had said, like, it's different. So when you get your 5-star reviews, you should probably maybe, like, write to everybody. He said never leave your 1-star reviews unaddressed. If I'm a customer, whether they said anything or whether they said something, address the review. Because, like, when you leave that review as it is, it's kind of like whatever they say stands.
Yeah.
You know, and you want to be that person that takes the charge and says, hey, I just, you know, like, I'm sorry for, like, what happened. Let me kind of take a moment and kind of talk to you about this and kind of say, like, you know, this is that. I've seen some people where they get, like, there's a story I can think of. They get a little too wild with it.
Yeah.
Accusatory, like, bold, like, defend the store. And I'm like, I get that natural. It's something people do in arguments, like, with, like, couples, like, when you're in a relationship. Defend yourself. Like, I did no wrong. What do you mean? But, like, in business, you really need to let those walls, those barriers drop. Really, probably in real life, too, like in relationships. But let that stuff go, man, and just, like, take that level of pride out and be like, hey, I look at each review, good, bad, whatever, as an opportunity to, like, grow. Like,
learning moment.
There's moments where we've got ones I'm like, that's fair. That's a really fair review. We did that, and, like, where we could have improved that. That was 100%. That's more or less where I think you should be. Not, what do you mean we suck? You know what I mean? Like, you say, like, no, I hate that. Like, the ones where, like, like, that's not a real review.
Yeah.
You suck's not a great review. Like, hey, I went in here and the customer service today wasn't the greatest. The shelves weren't. That's a legitimate review.
Yeah.
That's one where it's like, okay, well, who worked or what was happening? Like, talk to the situation. Do you recognize this review? Shelves are stocked. That's me. Basically, like, hey, it's like, order more. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would say. Like, you know, like, as one of the good recommendations. Another is, like, obviously budgeting is really important. I will say this business is incredibly hard to budget for. I wish, in a way, so, like, certain businesses, like, you know, like, they're like a boutique or something, right?
Yeah.
Or somewhere, like, where you basically, I order from supplier, it comes in, I get an invoice, I put it in, it's done.
Yeah.
We buy from customers. I have no earthly idea on a day-to-day basis how much is coming in.
Yeah.
It could be like this last week and a half. I think I'm not trying to say the same like I'm just repeat myself, record, but like tariffs, I think people are, you know what I mean? They're dumping crazy, like they're dumping stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, you know what I mean? Like, you don't wake up and be like, today's the day. It's like, you know, I have no clue. So, like, I'll be honest with you, budgeting is incredibly difficult with this job. Like, you can kind of budget with suppliers, but again, there's so many that we have that it can be hard when you combine that with, like, suppliers and you got customers. It's a tough order.
Yeah,
to, like,
tough to balance too, especially when you need to keep the shelves or try to keep the shelves stocked
hard.
And all that. You know, and that's, I think, especially hard when most of, like, your shelf space is, you know, dependent on trades and people bringing in the inventory essentially.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is, like, this business, if you're going to do anything like this, cards, it don't matter. Trades are your lifeline, they're your blood. They're what get the energy in the room pumping.
Yeah.
You know, it's really important to have some way to get people up, like fired up and be like, hey, I want to come in. And it's like, cool. You know,
Mega Man 4 and box on Game Boy?
I'm ready. You know, like, yeah,
Give me.
exactly. You need people like, you know, like, have some way that you think, I don't care if it's email. I mean, if you got this much time, phone calls, whatever it is, you need social media. You need to figure out a way to reach customers and communicate with them in a general way, like a bulletin board almost, like online.
Yeah.
You know, some way to be like, hey, here we go. We got the stuff. You know what I mean? Email alerts, fine too, if you want to do that for, like, whatever approach you got, online or not.
Yeah.
I think, like, you know, that's a big thing. Budgeting's hard. Reviews. I'd say, like, everything's getting more expensive. It's a much harder path in 2025 to open a store.
Yeah.
And kudos to anyone who does, because the path is just getting more and more difficult. I wouldn't say some of the better advice I've gotten. We are kind of new this, And I remember getting this from like a 25-year-old veteran in 2020. Been in the game since the 90s. Told me he'd seen the last great like pre-orders he'd seen was Halo 2, 200 people out there.
Oh, yeah.
He told me he used to see people in the 90s like lined up around the block for like a Mortal Kombat release.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see that unless it's like Switch 2. That's you're not getting that as a small guy. That was only the big guys. People asked, and I felt bad. I was like, we don't have access to that.
Yeah.
For something that hyped, you know what I mean? Like games, yeah, all day. Come on in, we got you. But games don't. Very rarely does the game generate that kind of interest where people are going to be lined up out the door. Maybe it's something like if they did a Red Dead 3, GTA 6.
Yeah, GTA 6, yeah.
Big like events almost. Like, holy crap, this is when they finally release Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh, my God,
you know, like, that I can almost see like a day one. People are like, you got it.
Please?
You know? Yeah. That's when I see like for next like wave. Something almost so massive can't be ignored.
Yeah, and I think if you can get pre-orders, some of the, people can do is just, hey, go to Walmart, see if they got a couple copies just to get people through the door kind of thing. I think that's also sort of important. Get people through the door and excited and whatnot because, hey, I've got some too, guys. You know what I mean? Because you can't compete with Walmart or Target or any of those guys at all.
You got to be niche. You got to be something different. Like, if I go and you have the exact same like merchandise, you're not going to win that battle. You got to have something that sets you out, sets you apart, makes you a little different, makes you unique.
Yeah.
Even from the small guys, you want something that kind of is like, hey, this makes me a little bit different, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, because like it just looks like a clone of each other.
Yeah.
Each person needs to kind of seek their own path, and obviously a lot of us do. A lot of us have the same suppliers, same methods. There can only exist so much out there, and if supplier gets big enough, everyone's going to hear of them or do business with that supplier. It just happens. But you still need to find stuff that just makes you special. Go the extra mile and figure out what that is,
Environment, I think,
Environment's huge.
Yeah.
I love, and we don't channel this as much as I'd like, but like I like when it's interactives or like giant like displays or like really get out there with like what you look like, like, wow, this is really cool.
Yep.
Stuff can be sometimes expensive, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's time, space.
Yeah.
I wish our store these days, maybe an extra 1,000 to 2,000 square feet would be amazing.
Yeah.
Just for in general, I can think of things I would be like, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
That's hard. That's a tough thing, and that's the other thing is I would just say stay nimble, stay quick. You got to do move on a dime. Something like I said, we're talking about these tariffs, uncertainty, and stay nimble, stay quick. You need to make decisions. Like you need to stay well informed. You don't have to be like well informed, like watch the news every day, but like something like this is kind of like can't really ignore this. Yeah. It's kind of like COVID when it happened. That was like you couldn't ignore that market wise. You had to pay attention. You had to know that like everybody was shutting down. If you didn't, they're like there was this wild stuff happening. Stimuluses, PPP. EIDL loans, like you had to kind of be informed,
Yeah.
if you wanted that stuff. If not, well, okay, we just got passed over for it. No one's going to hold it. In small business, you get paid as much as you're willing to work.
Yeah.
You're willing to work hard, you get paid.
1,000% true, yeah.
If you are not self-motivated, you should not do this.
Yeah. Because
it is, if you go and say, I'm taking a day off, I've seen people take too many days off. I'm like, again, that's another one. You're not going to make it.
Yeah.
But I'll now say, like, I've said a lot of, I think, negatives. Positives, I make my own schedule.
Yeah.
I come and please as I go. Whether I do work a lot or if I say, hey, I'm taking a vacation, I don't have to beg nobody. I don't have to ask. I don't have to be like, please, sir, let me have vacation with my family.
Man, please. Man.
I need it, please, man. No, I'm good. I'm golden. I don't got to ask for approval. Again, it reverses in both ways. It's a double-edged sword. Like, sometimes it's like, okay, this is on me. Like, you guys ask me questions all the time, and I have to know the answer.
Yeah.
And I just have on the fly. And that's another thing is like just knowing, like, I'm like, yep, this is what you should do.
Yep.
It's like almost, and I don't mean like this in like your employees or your kids, but it's like being a dad and your kids ask a question, and you're like,
yep,
boom, 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 boom. You just got it. Leadership. You just got to know. You just got to figure it. You got to have an answer. You can't just be like, I don't know. Like, because again, buck stops with you. Like, you got to know the answer. Because they're asking you for a reason, because they don't know, or they're waiting to see what you say.
I just don't want to get in trouble. So.
Oh my god!
Hey man, is this good?
I'm like, it's good.
All right. Yeah,
let's go. So it's like I'd say that's pretty much the biggest points. Like just staying nimble, picking out good POS, picking out like your trade process, getting your numbers down, getting like what you want to do. I've seen a lot of people do it, and very interesting. There are more pathways open. I'll say in a 2025 market, you've got more. There's Whatnot, I would say, is probably the best. And that's something we haven't done because, again, we're from that past generation of like eBay was like the thing. Like that was like, and I'd say Whatnot has that more exciting. TCG players definitely came and merged out if you're in the card space.
Yeah.
There were some interesting markets. So like I know I was listening to podcasts myself, and a guy was talking about he wanted to do a store. He had $500,000 in merch and Flesh and Blood cards where he'd gone on Facebook Marketplace, bought. And that's another thing we did. We were meeting people in the beginning days. I'd go to pawn shops on the way to work all the time. Good relationships. Even if you saw something or didn't, build a rapport. Can you go to pawn shops anymore? Not much.
Yeah.
And I would say, I'm not trying to blame us, but like I did that so much as one of them that they changed it permanently almost in 2018, 19, whatever it was. So like they price all their stuff individually now. Can you get a deal? Yeah, of course. You can find deals. They're always going to be there. It's always going to have yard sales. There's guys in local communities that you and I are both part of.
Yep.
Some of the secrets I've done is like going up to yard sale, like, hey, do you got any games?
Yep.
They may not have games. They have games. Yeah, I guess. Let me go inside and check for you. Boom. Here you go.
Yeah. Good. Oh, my grandson in the attic's got some old Nintendo stuff, and it's just like, holy crap, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You got to get creative. You got to be, again, staying hungry. We always go like yard sales like 6, 7 a.m. Yard sale starts at 8. You're there at 8. And don't always like that. I don't miss that. I've said like, there's part of me that I almost would be like, would take the loan. I almost would. Because, again, we lost, I think, momentum that first year or two where we struggled. But I'll say if we failed on the opposite side, we didn't have this giant loan hanging over our heads.
Yeah.
So, pick your poison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Slow and steady, or do you want, fast? Maybe you'll take off. Maybe you'll pay that loan back, and it won't even be an issue.
Yeah.
But either way, or maybe a combination. Maybe, build up some inventory on your own. Take a year like I did. Research, watch videos. Just really get well seasoned. Because worst thing you could do is somebody comes in and brings you Turbo Graphics and you don't know what it is. You can't hook it up and you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't. That's the thing is you need either to fake it till you make it or either be 100% in it. You know what I mean? Because it looks bad if I come to you and you just as much as me don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It does help to have that. And that was I'll applaud Andrew for that going in. He has that charisma, that Riz now. He can do it, man. He can. I'll say BS you on any topic, and he's an expert, even though whether or not he is.
Yeah.
That's another. We complement each other very well as a team.
Yeah.
So, and that helps a lot. It helps a whole lot to have something like that. If you're going to go into partnership, understand it's like a marriage. You got to get every time I made a decision or he made one, we had to hey, are you okay with this? You know what I mean? I've told people I would do a solo thing now because I understand. You know what I mean? There's some decisions that I'm sure he kind of helped me kind of not do.
Yeah.
By being like, hey, man, no. And then there's sometimes where I feel there's been things I've done in the past where it's worked out wonderful for me because, it's all about risk. How much is your risk appetite ready? How much are you willing to take?
Yeah.
That is difficult.
Yeah, deals tend to be the thing that kicked it off. That's what kicked off the store, Pop World, TCG, all that stuff.
Yeah,
a really good deals. Pretty much kicked that off.
Going to be I remember I was going to segment this last. I'll make this the last part.
Okay.
So there's a store in Asheville. Been in business a long time. It was a guy I was going into and talking about a few minutes ago.
Okay.
We already diversed into Pops because I kind of realized from 2015 to 2018 I had seen sales. Uncertain, NES and SNES, super hot. That was when the classics were coming out. NES Classic, SNES Classic. People are gobbling it up. But I seen it already in 2018 starting to dwindle. So I was start doing Pops, diversifying. Because with the ever-growing of, one, digital sales do grow. Two, you don't want to be doing just all your eggs on one basket. You cannot be, in my opinion, 2025, even 2018, even 20, you can't be a solo video game store. You cannot walk in and that is your thing.
Yep.
I see people who do it, but you also don't ever see them grow much, and you kind of see them stagnate and stay about status quo. My opinion on that, collectors, a lot of people lean on the stores like we did at first, but the thing about collectors is once they get done collecting, they're done.
Yep.
And a lot of times they don't come back for just regular stuff. Because NES, let's say a guy completes his NES collection, is he come back to buy another NES game? No, he's done.
Yep.
He's finished. He's done. He's gone. He's out the road. You might pick up other people general people hey, I remember this game. That's different. you kind of actually need to chase the 99, not the 1%. That's who pays the bills. That's who makes it go. Of course, thank the collectors on certain weirdo titles, like $200 title that you're like, who's buying? But the guy was like, hey, I need to complete my collection. Hey, I need to. That's where knowing people helps a lot, and having those relationships helps a lot. But diversifying, I would say, I can think of a couple other places that, like, if you look at them, if you look at us, look at anyone, they grow and or do better because they have different stuff.
Yeah.
They have their hands in some different markets, because it's tough to do just that. Because look at Switch 2 and some of the conversations we're having with key cards. Again, it does work for this generation, but when they turn that, and then again, we're talking like maybe even generation or two away. Like it could be like 2035, 2040. I don't know when they'll do it.
Yeah.
But when they do, then it is just a piece of plastic in
a
plastic case, and it is it pretty much is like worthless unless maybe I'm wrong and some guy will be like, I collect all of them, whatever. I don't know. I can't predict the future always. But that's an example where like you're seeing that market diminish and dwindle just a little bit. They are still there, but it's a baby step towards something. Again, it goes back to that narrative I was telling you where people want to believe something's going to die. Like the narrative has been digital will slay physical. It will go away entirely.
Yep.
I do think the reason Switch 2 has that option, even though I've read what the sales digitally were, was so that they could still chase the people who were physical only.
Yep.
They're trying to please those people. Maybe they won't be pushing out as many copies in the later. And eventually maybe it won't be worth it. You know what I mean? But right now it is. And they want to please both digital and physical markets.
Yep.
I could see it going on much longer than people will give it credit for.
I mean, it already has. People are saying in 2012 that it was done.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll go on much longer. I could even see PS6. The amount of people who come in and buy a disc version or trade the Xbox Series S in for Series X because it has a disc drive is crazy.
Big time.
The amount is like 3-4 to 1 for Series X is coming in. 1 for price point probably.
Yeah.
2, like I hear all the time. People just like, it's digital only.
Yeah.
You can't borrow a disc from your friends. You can't watch a DVD or Blu-ray you just happen to buy. A lot of people love 4K movies these days. I think it's like the whole brick and mortar is going to die and online's the way only.
Yeah.
It's like I was telling you last week, it's a hybrid.
Yep.
In this day and age, if you're going to a store, hybrid's the way to go. You need to have a hybrid of different products. You need to have an online and a brick and mortar store. You need to be able to have like an omni-channel approach where I can buy something online and pick it up in store, or I saw your inventory, or hey, you don't want to do a website. That's fine. I don't care. Do social media. But in hey, we're doing this podcast. I mean, like, that is something I've seen, and I did this for a lot of reasons, like passion being one, business being, there's a lot of different reasons. One, a lot of things. But I will say, like, it is something I've seen that a lot of stores, whether you like being comfortable in front of the camera or not, and it took me a little bit to get here myself, it is the future. The future is, like, doing TikToks and Reels and, like, Facebook Shorts and, like, being like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm not that guy. I've never been the selfie guy. I remember finding out what selfies were, ironically, at that Brazil study abroad trip. Yeah. Because all the people I was with were like, and I was like, I'm the guy taking a picture of the mountain and the landscape and the apartments and people. And I'm not even joking. Like, at that point, I had not even taken a selfie before in 20. Oh, well, I mean, have I taken a photo of myself? Yes, but like selfies, like crazy mountain.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, to show where you're at and all that good stuff.
Yeah, like we're just like, yo, what up? Like, no. But that's where it's at. I mean, I would say like before it was pictures and like trades coming in, like, like showing off your whatever.
Yep.
It's changing now more like to a video format, and that's where it's kind of going. And like, and our attention spans are so short. We're going. It's all about them short videos, man. Like, crank them out.
TikToks are important.
They said the average is 7 seconds. So
yeah,
that's keep in mind. It's hey, here you go.
Ironically, my crash video, I have the slow version, 17 seconds. The 7-second full speed version is so much more popular because it just gets it over and done with. It's done.
I mean, if you want my honest take, I'm the 7-second guy.
Yeah,
because it's like, I guess it's like crash.
Yeah, boom, bam. All right, that's it. Next, like
yeah, exactly, 100%, man. Yep. That's why I say like it's important to. That's a trend. It's seeing the writing on the wall and be like, hey, I could be that guy who's still doing this. I'm like, listen, that's where the market's changing. That's where you are seeing. There's several stores that I'm friends with. They have YouTube accounts. They have YouTube followings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it is evolving. It is constantly evolving to where you could say they do it, but I bet you on a business perspective, there's a lot. I mean, like, it's not that who are you more likely to buy from, but it's like if I know who you are, it's a big deal, and I have a relationship with you.
Yeah.
I see you. I know your opinions. I know who you are. We love Meat Canyon and Papa Meat.
Yeah.
Watch him every week. Watch his merch. I mean, like anytime he posts something, I'm like, oh, it's funny. It's cool.
Yep.
Even though you don't, it's actually kind of goes back to that whole brick and mortar. It's like the brick and mortar version of like how we're talking about how we're customers and everything's exciting. Yep. It's the same equivalent, but it's the online equivalent.
Yeah.
I may never get to talk to some of these individuals who watch the podcast, but it's cool because in a way I may not know them, but they know us.
Yeah.
They know you and me. They know who we are.
We want to get to know you. Come in the store. Comment down below. Do all the
subscribe,
good stuff. Yeah.
Smash that.
Smash that.
Smash the like, subscribe button, and hit the little bell.
Yeah.
We need to get on that train. We're joking about fake sponsors every week. Just throw out a weird one. So
yeah.
Parappa.
Parupies. Games.
Yeah. What is that one? Panda Boo Boo.
Oh, yeah. You mean Buttface? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, yeah. And I'd say that's another, like, even that, has changed where the amount of work you needed to do there wasn't there.
Yeah.
Now, again, you don't have to, but it's again, staying hungry, staying competitive, staying, like, we're in a capitalist system. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it be what it be. So
it is what it is. That's for my wife. She hates that phrase, so that's for her.
Good. Boo.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Thank you for all the insight on being a store owner and what people may need to look to and all that good stuff. Just, guys, stay tuned. We appreciate you tuning in again. Happy Friday. Enjoy it. Have a good time. Subscribe, like, comment.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Spencer.
Follow this man at the K0?
The real K0.
The real K0. All his platforms. Like I said, Red Fox Gaming online. Red Fox Gaming for Instagram. But feel free to follow our socials. Check out our website. Come by the store. Say hey.
Please.
Come to Club Red Fox on Sundays.
Sundays.
I'll make sure this Sunday we got the dance music going. The good vibes are rolling. We're ready for you guys. And thank you so much. We've gotten so much positive feedback. We really appreciate you guys listening, watching. It's been a lot. It's been really fun to do this. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
See you next time. Peace.